Hello and welcome Lyncis, the latest addition to Frost or Frostbolt to be specific. Lyncis is the first 5.0 character, bringing Frost back to the top of the charts, and boy oh boy is she colourful. See, you can't even tell if she's Frost with so much going on. Besides being the main DPS weapon for Frost teams, she brings a new exploration gimmick for us in the form of her skateboard. Remember those Domain 9 only kicks that let you run up walls and mountains? Now you can do that too, except you only go up and not down.
I don't even know why they did that.
So, with Lyncis in the team, how strong is Frost now? Let's take a look. Lyncis' weapon is primarily a Frost main DPS weapon, with similar attributes like the Frostbolt Fusion, Frostbolt Resonance, Force Impact, dealing damage every 1.5 seconds to nearby targets. For more detailed information, take a look at her kit, y'all. Lyncis is pretty easy to use. You buff her with your other two weapons, swap back to Lyncis, use her skill and start spamming those normal attacks.
It's that simple.
After using her skill, you'll notice every 6 seconds a sub-skill will appear. Using that sub-skill deals additional damage to the target, and you get to cast up to 3 times within her skill duration. Wait a minute, what does her skill do, you may ask? Lyncis' skill description is super long, but in reality it is super simple. She explodes into this colourful mess, dealing damage to nearby targets while gaining hyper body and final damage buffs. Her skill lasts for 25 seconds with a cooldown of 25 seconds as well. During her skill period, and as long as Lyncis is on field, you'll gain a sub-skill every 6 seconds. Using this skill will deal additional damage to nearby targets, and you're able to use the sub-skill for a maximum of 3 times within your main skill duration. When her skill ends and you still have some unused sub-skills, she will auto-release them to damage nearby targets or enemies. Keyword auto, but word of advice, just press the damn skill when you see it, okay? Next, let's look at her auto attack chain. Lyncis has both ground and aerial attacks, both in the form of 5 hit attack chains. It's recommended, by yours truly, to perform the ground attack chain in actual combat. Lyncis has some other long hold attacks, but after testing, they don't really perform better than your normal attack chains, so you can safely ignore them if you care about min-maxing your performance. Her Discharge, while pretty as it is, doesn't have any special effects tied to it, so once again, you can safely jump cancel it. Hold up. It's worth noting that her Discharge multiplier is quite high and does a significant amount of damage compared to jump cancelling and using normal attacks, so even if you don't cancel it, you'll still deal a decent amount of damage to the target. Might be good for new players that want to enjoy her fancy Discharge animation and still deal good damage. Lyncis' dodge attacks have no special effects as well, so I won't go into detail, but understand this. Her directional long hold dodge lets you go into the skateboard mode and using energy while you're hovering in that mode. During skateboarding, pressing the jump key near walls will let you skate upwards. Pretty cool for exploration indeed. Oh, and by the way, the skateboard mode is not affected by any speed buffs. Unfortunate, but oh well. Trait wise, for some weird reason Lyncis' trait isn't better than Void Piercer's, so you're kind of forced to stick to Void Piercer's trait if you're using them together. If Void is not on the team, you probably can use Lyncis' trait because it's better than the other Frost traits, but come on man. New main DPS and not using her trait? Feels awkward and wrong, no? On the Relics choice, for the main Relic it is recommended to use the buff dealer, at minimum 2 stars, best performance being 5 stars. Second Relic choice, you can go with the Overdrive shot at minimum 1 star, best performance being 3 stars. Now, the latest Relic Battle Eye Mark II has just been released, and when we get to 5 stars, it will be the de facto best Relic of choice alongside the buff dealer. Word of advice to new players, if you do get the Battle Pass, choose the Mark II Relic and not any older Relics. For free to play, you still can use the Count Relic at minimum 2 star combined with the Omnium Shield 5 star. On to the Matrices. Lyncis Matrices are very strong. At a base 0-star set, she gives a lot of frost attack and frost damage, super recommended for those who do not have good background matrices for frost. Maxing out her matrices further boosts frost attack and frost damage to the usual 3-star power levels. If you're one of those that goes for ranking and leaderboard chasing, needless to say, max them out. Okay, team comps. For the meta team, the strongest lineup would be Lyncis plus Grey Fox plus Void Piercer, with Lyncis being the main DPS for this team. At present, it's the best performing Frost team with the highest passing damage and easiest to use in terms of gameplay. There is, however, a caveat. If you're running a low investment team, example 0-star Void Piercer or Grey Fox without her matrices, you need to start off your battle with 2 discharges preloaded. If you do have a 3-star Void Piercer and Grey Fox with her matrices, you can start your rotation without having to preload any discharges. That would be the most optimal recommendation for this team. Second comp would be the Altered Frost team, for those players who have 2 altered weapons in the form of Void Piercer and Nola. Lyncis would also be your main DPS for the Altered Frost comp. Although the damage would not be as good as the Grey Fox Lyncis team,
because Nora takes too long to warm up,
it's still a decent team that performs well in Frost related content. Talking about content, here's an in-depth analysis on the various Frost teams Lyncis can pair with. A Lyncis Grey Fox Void Piercer sits on top of the meta charts with Altered Frost behind. Frankly speaking, this team is carried so hard by Lyncis and Void Piercer that Nola is just there because some people don't have Grey Fox. In third place, the Benediction team of Fiona, Grey Fox and Lyncis will deal really good damage, especially in instances where you can use Fiona's execution. I'd say this team is better off for single play and not really team content with hard difficulty. Another surprisingly good team would be using Yano as a buffer. She has some unique mechanics that deal extra damage when enemies are below a certain HP, but fair warning, some find her extremely difficult to use. Roslyn somehow does manage to work with Lyncis, although her role is just buffing and not really doing the bulk of the damage. I wouldn't recommend this team as Lyncis and Roslyn are both on-field main DPS units. You'd find better results with 2 buffers instead. For the free-to-play that wants to use some standard Frost characters to pair with Lyncis, you can use Yulan or Linghan as a buffer or sub-DPS for Lyncis, along with at least 1 altered weapon. Come on guys, it's just 1 altered weapon. Not too much to ask for, right? Next, we look at advancements. At 1 star, you get a DPS increment, about say 8%. At 3 stars, this time round they shifted the mitigation and survivability effect from the usual 5 star to 3 stars. Probably good for newcomers that don't have good sustain in their team comps. At 5 stars, Lyncis gets the resistance shred and frost damage boost. And at 6 stars is the common DPS buff where she gets additional final damage buffs and frost damage buffs. Totally recommended for resident whales and rankers. In my opinion, key stars being 1 star and 5 star. If you don't have enough resources, just try for a 0 star or 1 star depending on how your pools go. If you're able to get 5 stars, I'd say just go the distance, just max her out, what are you waiting for? In summary, Lyncis replacing Nora in the Meta Frost team brings Frost back to the top of the charts, approximately 30% increment over the old Frost team. However, do bear in mind that you can't really use an A0 Lyncis to replace an A6 Nora. You'd really see the difference if you're replacing them at a similar advancement, say 6 star? As the main DPS for Frost teams in the new 5.0 patch, I'd recommend getting her for your DPS convenience. Why? First, she's super easy to use, and second, she doesn't waste precious on-field time unlike Nora. Not to mention she has some unique exploration gimmicks in that colourful skateboard of hers. And at the very least, you'll still have some cool movement when you finally kick Nola out from the team. Hi. Oh, and just before I forget, she's the first simulacra that can change her colour during different parts of the day. Check this out. Kinda neat, right? What do you think? Is Lyncis hot or cool enough for you? Let me know in the comments and I'll see ya in the next one.